on this simple layout that I did, I wanted to show you a few drop shadow techniques that I utilized to make this fence look more realistic. And so I have opened up my template here. I have this as a free download for you to utilize yourself. But as you can see, this fence here doesn't look as realistic. And so I'm going to show you a little bit about drop shadowing and how you can kind of think in your head about the distances on drop shadows. Now, I'm not no expert on drop shadows. This is just what I utilized for this layout. And so I'm going to go ahead and activate this layer here, which is my photo layer, so that it looks a little bit more like my final layout, and raise that up where I have it on my final layout too. Now I also have gone ahead here and did a text layer. This is just simple text in Impact 72, I believe it was, points. Yes. And so let's work with making this look realistic as I did on my layout. I actually went and added this simple sharp inner bevel to my text, but that was too sharp, too high up, and so I'm going to click on this FX, and in the style settings I just lowered this way down, and I think I had it pretty low. There it is at 4. We're going to stick with that and click OK. Now you can see the text already looks different, but there is no shadowing to make it look like it is setting above this fence. So let's click the FX again and go ahead and add a drop shadow. So I'm going to check the drop shadow button. You can see it immediately already made a good change. But for me, it doesn't look like it's setting on this fence well enough. For me, the drop shadow is going to be mostly below because of the angle of my lighting. And so since the depth of these vertical wooden bars is further back than the depth of the horizontal bar that it's resting on, this drop shadow behind it needs to be higher. So I'm just going to move the distance a little bit. You can see as I move it, it becomes a little bit more realistic. Now I don't want it too high, and I'm going to show you why in just a minute. So I've got that around 35. Let's click OK. You can see now that it looks a little bit more realistic, that it is a distance, larger distance from those vertical wooden pieces. Now let's add drop shadows to the other elements on the page. There they are. Okay. On this top piece, I think I just added a soft drop shadow and just left it at that. I didn't want to work on that one too hard. For the vertical bars, I'm going to add a soft drop shadow, but you can see then it doesn't look like it's that realistic and that much as if it's in the foreground of the photo. And so I'm going to click on the FX and I'm going to change this distance, and watch how it changes the whole look of the layout when I make the drop shadow higher. And I'm going to actually make it pretty high. And it's at 89 right now, as opposed to the 35 that I put on the title. And I'm going to click OK, and you can see what a great effect that gives to that fence. When you're actually doing layouts where you have a mat and a paper, your drop shadows are going to be fairly small because they're actually flatter to your paper. You have to imagine in your head how far off the paper you want it to be. And so if you're doing a layout that's really realistic to paper scrapbooking, most of your drop shadows are going to be small. But for this particular layout, I really wanted the fence to look like it was not just setting right there on the photo. And so in this case, I made that drop shadow rather large, so that it looks like it is quite a distance from the paper. However, the title is not that far of a distance from the fence. And so it's further than if I would have had a paper directly on another paper, because I wanted to give it the illusion that it was further from these vertical things, but it wasn't as far as these drop shadows down here. So now how do we deal with the horizontal ones? So I'm going to add a soft drop shadow to them, and you can see it looks pretty realistic just as it is. This drop shadow is a size 20 by default, and I'm going to leave it at that, or you could even maybe make it a little bit smaller, but I think I'm going to leave it around the 20. Because the horizontal bars are actually setting right on the vertical bars. So we want that drop shadow to be lower. So now we have 3 different drop shadow sizes on here. The lowest is the horizontal because it's directly on the wooden vertical planks. Another size is slightly higher under the text, because we wanted to give that illusion of it being a little higher between the title and the vertical plats, and then an even higher one because we wanted the whole fence to seem like it was further off the page. So now let's go and check out the frame. What kind of drop shadow do we want it to be? If we just add a normal drop shadow, it looks as if it's setting right there on the horizontal frames. But I kind of liked it when I changed it and made it a little bit higher so as to make it match the rest of the fence. I didn't put it all the way up at the 90, because you can see then it sort of starts separating off of the frame. Actually, let's remove this layer style, and now that I'm doing this, I do remember clear layer style. I had to apply this to the photo and not the frame. And then I made that one larger. And you can see I actually have it about the same, a little bit more than the other one. Now here's something else I did to make this a little bit more realistic. I wanted it to seem as if the horizontal bars behind the frame were kind of gone backwards, so that the frame itself was at the same level as the vertical bars. It's kind of hard to explain, but let's just go do that. I'm going to make these vertical bars as the active layer. and I'm going to go get the burn tool and activate it. Then I simply drew on my horizontal bars, and you can see to darken them and shadow them, and it instantly now looks as if that part of the fence kind of bends backwards, and now the frame is about the same level as these vertical bars in the back. And so let's go back to our final finished layout. Where'd it go? There it is. And you can see I've added some little screws now to the title, and this is just a simple all about the photo layout, and with a little bit of an artistic flair to it. And I hope you got some ideas about how to work with shadows. The shadows on these screws are really small. They're much smaller than the others. We can even take a peek at what they are. And the distance is actually 4 on those, because they're going to be really close to the fence. And anyway, I hope these little tips that I utilized in making my layout will help you in your layouts. And thanks for watching.